Namaste and welcome to Pramanic Astrology channel. I'm your host Prasad Mahazani. Help you raise your vibrations and become your true self with the help of Vedic astrology. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And in this video, we are going to talk about the 10th Lord. We have already discussed about the 9th Lords through the houses. In this stream, we are going to talk about the 10th Lord and the effect of the 10th Lord through the houses. If you're getting value from this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, we are just starting into the 10th Lord. Now, one announcement for all of you who believe in my work. We have started memberships on our channel. Memberships are like you will get some perks, like you will get some additional content. On my channel, you will get a live stream dedicated for the members. Okay, so if you want to support this channel and if you believe in the work I do, go and join that membership. So see you on the other side. So yes, that was an announcement. Now let's move to the 10th Lord. Yes, you guys are able to hear me properly? Yes. Thank you. Yes, great. So 10th Lord is, if you look at the sky, 10th Lord is, first house is the eastern horizon. That is where sun rises. 7th house is a west horizon. Okay, so the first house is the beginning of the chart, the first house. Then the 4th house is about the private life. 7th house is about the other people or the destinations or the end or the sunset. Now we are at the 10th house. 10th house literally shows your work area. So what kind of work? We always talk about career. So careers can be seen with the 10th house. Fame can be seen with the 10th house. Recognition can also be seen with the 10th house. Okay. 10th house, if you look at the sky, it is right above your head. That is zenith. Okay, and that's why it is the house of fame. It is the house of the public life. You're coming out open. People know you for something, like you are a politician, you are a film star, you are an artist, you are a musician, you're a singer, you're icon. It makes this house shows how iconic you are. Okay, that's why sun does great here. Why sun does great into the 10th house? Because if you look at the timing of the day and if you look at the brightest sun, you will see the afternoon sun. And you just go on afternoon, just go and check the, just go to any app or go to the software you are using and just cast the chart for that moment, and you will see that sun is into the 10th house, and that is the brightest. Okay, that's why sun also gets strength into the 10th house. Sun resonates well with the 10th house because 10th house is also about the authority. When you do something, you become an authority. Let's say if you are a president of a country, so you're doing something, it gives you some authority. It may be, the authority may differ, like you can be a mayor to the city or a president of the country, or maybe just a head of your family, doesn't matter. But yes, it shows that the 10th house is one of the most important and one of the benefic house, I would say. Why I say benefic? Because it is about the work, and more than that, it is about the it is about, I would say that, recognition. And just a second, let me see. Okay, yes. Okay. So yes, we are talking about the 10th house. 10th house is the house of your highest material achievements. It is one of the upachaya houses. Upachaya houses are the houses which grows with time. So any planet into the 10th house is welcome. If you have Mars in the 10th house, it's good, because Mars loves to be into the competitive environment. Mars loves to be into the fears, and loves to be into that environment where he has to show his courage. He gets the opportunity to show his strength. Okay, so Mars also does great. Rahu, we have already made a separate video on Rahu into the 10th house. Rahu into the 10th house has the capacity to create their own world. Okay, then Venus, Moon, and Mercury, all the planets bring in their own element into this house, and all of this depends upon the lordships as well. Okay, so yes, 10th house is super important, beneficial, and one of the important houses. So the lord of the 10th house becomes even more important, because wherever the 10th lord is placed in gives us clue about what we can expect from the 10th house. It is the rule is the lord, the the planet, and the karaka. Okay, so these three are important. Next is, when we talk about the 10th house, it is always about balancing between the 4th and the 10th. Okay, 4th house is about your private life, 10th house is about your public life. Okay. Next, 10th house, we always see the 10th house as a benefit, but to go to the depth of house, I recommend you to go and watch the Bhavat Bhavam of the 10th house on my channel. Because when we say the 10th house, you won't believe, but each house has a 10th house. What do I mean by that? 10th house is 10th from the ascendant. 9th house is 10th from the 12th. 8th is 10th from the 11th. 7th is 10th from the 10th. 6th is 10th from the 9th, and so on. So when we say the 10th house and we talk about the 10th house, it is all about the 10th from the first house. Okay, so guys, if you're getting value from this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps me to create more content for you. Okay, so let's talk about the 10th lord into the first house. When you have 10th lord into the first house, now the lord of the work, the lord of the karma, the lord of the authority, lord of the career is going, and it is taking his energy into the first house of your personality. It makes, when I see this, the 10th lord into the first house, I have seen people who have uh, the strength to overcome any obstacle in their career and become successful, and to get what they have decided, to get what they have dreamed of. Again, the lord of the 10th house will change the interpretation. Along with the 10th lord, when a planet is ruling the 10th house, we also have to look for the we also have to look for the other rashi of that planet. Let's say if you are if you have Mars into the Scorpio ascendant, so you also have to look for where is Aries. Okay, so that's how we start going deep into this. Next is the 10th lord into the, and one of the important thing is when the 10th lord is into the first house, this makes these people workaholic at times. Okay, now because the 10th lord, the lord of the work, is going in their personality, so they have great work ethics, and they have a relentless thriving for their goals. Okay, let's move on to the 10th lord into the second house. 10th lord into the second house. When you have the 10th lord into the second house is the house of your support. First house and second house is the dhanasthan to your ascendant. Okay, so it is about the support to yourself. Okay, so when the 10th lord goes into support to your self account, the resources of your self, it shows you will have good guidance from family with respect to your career. I have seen people with this placement getting a good guidance from maybe uncle, maybe some friends, or maybe some relatives, close relatives, guide them in their career. These people easily get mentors, and they will follow their mentors and will be benefited. Now because 10th lord is into the second house. Next is 10th lord into the third house. Third house is again, though third house is the house of self effort, courage, and communication, it is also the house of intelligence, your associates, as well as the house of the house of analytical mind. It is also the house of your heart wishes, your hobbies. All these can be seen with the third house. Now, the lord of the work, the lord of the career, fame, authority, work is all going into the self effort, hobbies, communication, and direction. A good third house. Now, 10th house resonates well with the work area of the third house. What do I mean by work? Third house is also about the self effort. So these people take effort to get ahead in the career, to get the opportunity. These people will always, you will see these people always following their dreams and passion, because the 10th house is the house of work, and it's going into the third house of hobbies and passions. Okay, next is 10th lord into the fourth house. Now, fourth house is the house of your private life, your emotions. Okay, and it is exactly opposite to the 10th house, but it is also It is also one of the case people towards having a business from home are inclined, and these inclined towards something to do with the home environment. Now, the lot of the work is connected with the lot of the house, or into the house of the home environment. But again, fourth house is not only the house of home environment, it is also the house of your emotional stability. Okay, your emotional strength, your emotional foundations can be seen with the fourth house, and both of these houses are the Kendra houses. Okay, one of the important thing is, if you have Rahu and Ketu placed in this axis, your things won't be same, because it will amplify the 10th house things. Now Rahu will try to create his own world, and uh, he will somewhat try to avoid the emotions. I have made a separate video on Ketu in the fourth house and Rahu in the 10th house. You can go and watch that video. We have made an entire playlist on Rahu and Ketu. So just go and watch that. It will help you. Next is 10th lord into the 5th house. What is the 5th house? 5th house is about the intelligence. 5th house is about the 5th house is about your past life, purva punya, what you have brought into this life can be seen with the 5th house. 5th house is about children, love, romance, creativity, strategies, speculation. Politics can also be seen to some extent with strategies, but 5th house is one of the trinal house. 5th house is also one of the dharma trikona houses. Now, the lord of the Kendra house is going into the trinal house. It is a good placement to have. Again, 5th lord, 5th house is 10 places away from the, not 10, 5th house is 8 places away from the 10th house. Okay, so what is 8th house? 8th house is about the ups and downs. 8th house is about the instabilities. So you have to be careful with respect to your career. Like the 10th lord into the 5th house can bring in the ups and downs well, especially if it is with Rahu. If you have Rahu, and how you can overcome this, or how you can fix this, is you have to be consistent with this. So whatever you're doing consistently will give you good results. Don't change your career often. Okay, but when Kendra Lord is into the 5th house, it gives good result, and it also shows intelligent ways to become successful, intelligent ways to get ahead in life. Okay, next is 10th lord into the 6th house. Guys, if you're getting value from this video, don't forget to hit like button. It helps me to create more. It inspires me to create more. Okay, so when 10th lord goes into the 6th house, 6th house is Dushtana house, right? What is Dushtana houses? Dushtana houses bring in challenges. And what is the 10th house? 10th house is the house of your work, is the house of your recognition, and all that stuff we already discussed. 10th house is also about the travel. We'll talk about that when we'll talk about 9th and 12th house. But when you have 10th lord into the 6th house, it shows opposition and challenges in your road to success, but that doesn't mean it denies it. It only means you have to work hard. That's what sixth house is. Sixth house is about the delays, is about the hard work, is about the routine. And now 10th lord is coming in here, but it has two more strengths to it. First is the 10th lord into the 6th house is into the same element. 10th house is upachaya house, the houses which grows with time. We talked about it when we talked about the 3rd house and other houses. But when you have the 10th lord into the 6th house, both the houses, the 10th lord and the 6th house, are upachaya houses. So they will grow with time. And another okay, yeah, we are back. So when you have 10th lord into the 6th house, again 6th house is again the artha element house. Artha element is about earning money, bringing in resources, creating tangible resources to help family, to help yourself, to support the family and those who are depend on you. Okay, that's what 6th house is. So only you have challenges in life doesn't mean you will be unsuccessful in life. It only means there are challenges, right? And one of the important thing about the 10th house is, and the 6th house is, continuous improvements. It is the house of continuous growth and improvement. So the person with the 10th lord into the 6th house will keep on working, keep on improving his skills, his abilities, his work ethics in order to. Okay. Next is 10th lord into the 4th house. Not the 4th house, 7th house. Now, when the 10th lord is into the 7th house, in fact, it gives a person recognition with the marriage as well. When you have 10th lord into the 7th house, it shows a great relationship with your partner, because there is some conviction and truthfulness to it. Okay, because 7th house is 10th from the 10th. So the 7th house in a way is bhavat bhavam of the 10th house. So it's like 10th lord is into the bhavat bhavam of the 10th lord, the 7th house. So it makes person loyal, honest, and truthful in the relationships. Okay, and it makes these people very involved into their relationship. They're ready to take efforts in their relationship for the betterment of the relationship, to take that relationship to the next level. Okay, next is 10th lord into the 8th house. Now the lord of the work, recognition, public life, your career status, fame is coming into the house of death, ups and downs, death and rebirth. It's not only death, it's the longevity. It is about the occult mysticism. But if you look at the placement of the 8th house, it is the 10th lord going 11 places from the 10th house. So the 10th lord is going 11 places from the 10th house. So the 10th lord is going into the labasthan of the 10th house. So it shows gains from your career, which is that you will have all sorts of 10th house gains from the 10th house. It is going to help you to earn more from your career as well. You won't believe that, but it's 11th from the 10th. But on the other side, it also shows that you will have to be you yourself will feel that you don't want to work full time, right? You will feel that you want to work part time, just like doctors do. They will have their clinic for a couple of hours in the morning, let's say 10 to 12, or 10 to 2 o'clock in the morning, or 9 to 11, whatever, 2 to 3 hours in the morning, and 2 to 3 hours in the evening. This is also a break, right? So the 10th lord into the 8th house brings in the breaks in your career, and those breaks did not be bad. I just shared you the example of doctors. Okay, doctors have breaks in their work, or they have breaks in their timings. When I say break, it's the timing. Okay, so yes, guys, if you're getting value and if you're watching right now, don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, so the 10th lord into the 10th lord into the we are talking about 10th lord into the 8th house, right? And interesting enough, if you have Saturn into the 8th house, not even as a 10th lord, but into the 8th, I get a lot of comments. I have Saturn retrograde into the 10th house. I have Jupiter debilitated into the 8th house, right? So when you have Saturn into the 8th house, or if you have Jupiter into the debilitated, it's the 12th lord into the 8th house. Okay, when you have Saturn into the 10th house, 10th lord into the 8th house, or any lord into the 8th house, what's happening here is your Saturn will be aspecting the 10th house with its third aspect. Third aspect is about the third house, which is about the self effort. 10th house, and as I discussed, may bring in those gaps in your working time. Or once you okay, so yes, when you are into the 10th lord into the 8th house, it brings in that self effort into the work. It makes that person work. Okay, so yes, I really find this position very interesting, very interesting. 10th lord into the 6th house is 9 places away from it, right? So all the Dushtana houses are either 9, 11, and 3. 12th house is third from it. 6th house is 9th from it. And 8th house is 11th from it. So I see it as the 10th lord going in any of these places will do work. It will make you work. It will give you opportunities. Okay. And once you are done with the 8th house, we are moving to the 9th house. 10th lord into, okay, 10th lord whenever there is a connection between the 10th lord and the 9th lord, it is always a good sign for your career and to overall strength of your chart. If you remember, we have covered all the ascendants and important conjunctions for all the ascendants, wherein we have discussed about the planets. I often get questions like, I have Venus and Mercury conjunction into the fourth house, into the sign of Leo, whether it is good or bad. Okay, so you have to look for the planets involved into the conjunction and the lordship of those planets, and the other planets involved in the conjunction. In this case, when you're talking about the Mercury and Venus into the fourth house for Taurus ascendant, it is the Lagna Lord Venus, right? It is the sixth Lord Venus, it is the second Lord Mercury, and the fifth Lord Mercury. So it is 1, 2, 5, 6. These four houses are getting conjunct into the fourth house. So it is altogether different. So Venus and Mercury has their own effects. Like when Venus and Mercury conjunct, it makes person have a great sense of humor, makes him witty, gives him all sorts of youthfulness to its personality, gives him charm. But when lordship comes in here, things change, get altered, interpretations get altered. Okay, so we're talking about the 10th lord into we're talking about the 10th lord. I forgot, we are talking about the 10th lord into, oh, we are talking about 10th lord into the 9th house, right? Yes. So I was talking about the connection between the 9th and the 10th. Why it is important? Because the 9th lord is the lord of the trinal houses. It is the last trine house, and 10th house is the ultimate Kendra house. Kendra houses are 1, 4, 7, 10. So 10th house is the last Kendra house, highest material achievement house. And 9th house is the higher belief, is the house of wisdom, virtues, morals, your teachers. All these things can be seen with the 9th lord. Okay. So when 10th lord goes into the 9th house, it makes this person fortunate with respect to his career. It also makes this person work in faraway land. Why is it so? Because 10th lord is going 12th from the 10th. What is the 12th house indication? The foreign things. And 9th house is also about the 9th house is also about the travel anyway. So when the 10th lord goes into the 9th house, 12th to the 9th, it makes person work in a foreign land. Okay. Next is 10th lord into the 10th house. When you have 10th lord into the 10th house, it makes person create his impact on society as a whole. He is not only about being successful for himself. He is now creating an impact on a society. He will be looked upon in a society as a reputed person, as a person, as a man of work who has done something in his life. I see this as one of the positives for the chart, which brings in the material achievements for one. Okay, so when you have the 10th lord into the 10th house, again, at the start of this stream, we were talking about the planets. Like if you have Sun in the 10th house in the sign of Leo, it's different. If you have Mars into the sign of Aries, look for the Scorpio. Where is Scorpio? Scorpio is into the 5th house. Okay, it makes your ascendant the Cancer ascendant, and now the Mars becomes Yoga Karaka. See, you have to consider all these things. It's not only the Mars in the 10th house. It is not only consider all these things. It's not only the Mars in the 10th house. It is not only the Mars into the Aries. It is not only the 10th Lord into the 10th house. All these three, along with that, it's the 5th Lord into the 10th house, which creates Raj Yoga. Okay, so the 10th Lord in the 10th house is not limited to it. You have to look for it as a whole. You have to just keep digging in, look for the lordships, look for the aspects, look for the exchanges of the planets. What if you have 10th Lord Mars into the sign of Cancer, debilitated, and you have Moon into the sign of Scorpio or into the sign of Aries, let's say. So all these things will change the dynamic of the effect of the placement of that planet. So the 10th Lord into the 10th house. We discussed about the Sun. Let's talk about a few other planets. Let's talk about Venus into the 10th house. When you have Venus into the 10th house, the 10th Lord into the 10th house, Venus as the 10th Lord into the 10th house, it shows that you will have, it will either be Taurus sign, so it will become 2, 3, 4, 5, the Leo Lagna, or you will have 7, 8, 9, 10, the Capricorn Lagna. Okay, you can have 10th Lord Venus, Venus as the 10th Lord into the 10th house only for the Capricorn ascendant or Leo ascendant. Okay, now check for the other houses ruled by Venus, and then you can decide if this Venus is good for you. And when I say good, it's about all the other things we discuss. So I'm just not concluding it as good or bad. I don't like to conclude that as good or bad, but I have to use. I don't like to conclude that as good or bad, but I have to use the words just to explain you. Next is next planet. Let's take as Mercury. Mercury in the 10th house. Let's say it's into the sign of Gemini. Okay, then the Virgo sign goes into the ascendant. So now it's 10th Lord into the 10th house and the 1st Lord into the 10th house. So things are changing. It shows that the Lord of the personality is into the 10th house. So the person is workaholic, is working towards his goals. But again, it's Mercury. It's not Saturn or Mars. So again, it will be an intellectual person. Okay. Next is, let's say you have Mercury into the 10th house in Virgo. Then the 7th Lord is into the 10th house. Okay. So even the 10th Lord into the 10th house has so many layers to it before we can even conclude anything. Forget about concluding, even before we can start interpreting it. Okay. Next is 10th Lord into the 11th house. 10th Lord into the 11th house. 11th house is the house of gains. The house of gains is, it is also the 11th house is 12th to the 11th. Like it is the loss to the loss. And it is 2nd to the 10th. And it is 6th to the 6th. So obstacles to the obstacles, loss to the loss, and Dhanasthan to the 10th house, and the Karmasthan to the Dhanasthan. It is 10 places away from the second house. So 11th house is best placement for any planet because it is also one of the Upachaya houses. Okay, so almost all the planets perform well into the 11th house and 10th house, including Rahu. But Rahu will have his own challenges as we discussed into that axis 5, 11, and 4, 10. Next, guys, if you're getting value, don't forget to hit like button. Okay. Yes. Next is the 10th lord into the 12th house. We talked about the Dhisthana houses. By the way, we have made a separate video with one houses specifically. What if 10th lord is into the 6th house, 10th lord into the 8th house, 10th lord into the 10th lord into the 12th house. All these things can be seen with you can see all these things in the video with one Paul Manley. If you're first time on this channel, to the 10th lord into the 12th house. 12th house is the house of spirituality. 12th house is the house of your loss, and when we say loss, it is loss of energy, loss of identity, and loss of all the first house things. Okay, that's what the 12th house is. 12th house is also about the foreign things. 12th house is about the foreign element. So the lot of the karma is going into the foreign thing. So this person might be able to work in a foreign country. Okay, so yes, guys, if you are getting value from this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Okay, so yes, this was 10th lord through the houses, as much as I could hold, grasp, and share with you guys. If any one of you can put the timestamps for all this, it will help uh, people who are watching replays. Okay, sending you tons of positive energy, sending you high vibrations. See you in the next stream. Love and peace. Namaste.